Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian.
And I'm Ethan.
And in this video, we're going to be doing another battle report with Legion Week 3 CID. I'm going to be rocking Kryssa in Children of the Dragon. And what are you doing, Ethan?
I'm playing Magnus 1 in Irregulars with some jank.
All right, let's go take a look at those lists.
So, like I said, I'm playing some Magnus 1 in Irregulars. And my battle group is Sylys and with 3 Toros. And then I have Nemo 4 with a Prime Axiom. Because when they first announced Nemo and Gaspy 3 or Gaspy 4's rules, and they're like, you know what, you can take Convergence Jacks, my mind instinctively went to, I want to run a Prime Axiom. So like I've built like 5 different lists trying to make it work, and I think Magnus 1 brings everything that poor guy needs. And then I have Eilish, Harlow, and Ragman for rec options, and then Anastasia and Widget.
So for my list, I am running Kryssa, the Conviction of Everblight. I think that in CID Week 3, she got some really awesome changes. A small side rant story. When Mark 3 first hit, I was kind of salty, along with a lot of the rest of the Warmachine community, mostly because I was preparing for Warmachine weekend back then, and I had this really awesome Thagrosh 1 list. It was like, you know, Ogryn War Spears with like a Blightbringer because you could bring him back then. And I spent so much time and money painting this list and getting it on sweet looking bases, and then Mark 3 hit, so the list was basically null and void for the most part, and I was really upset. So I decided to pick up the Legion battle box to try and like bring my spirits back up, and Kryssa was like really close to hot garbage. So I really didn't enjoy her very much, so I kind of left Legion for a while. Now that the Week 3 CID hit, Kryssa's got some awesome rules, and I'm playing with a lot of models here that have gotten buffs from there too. We've got the Swordsmen, the Legionnaires, Zuriel, and Azrael. There's just a whole bunch of stuff in here that Kryssa can really do some great things with, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. So before I get too far, I do have to take a moment to say that the Raek is not in Kryssa's battle group. The Raek is under the Blight Archon, but in War Room, I really don't have any way of adding that model to this list to like show that it's there. So it doesn't look right, but the Raek is under the Blight Archon, which is going to be taking the role of the Void Archon in this game.
So I won the roll to go first because you play this list in Irregulars for the reroll to go first, and you take Anastasia. So somebody did the math, and I have like an 80% chance of winning the roll against somebody who doesn't have the bonus, which is real fun. Harlow just runs up to get out of Magnus's way. Magnus goes... there's a lot of bookkeeping with this list that I forgot, and Brian was nice enough because I haven't played this list that's not on War Table. So this is my first time in person, so I forgot to poop out a servitor. I end up pooping out an Explodibot.
Yeah, the Reflex Servitor.
Yep. Nemo allocates 1 to the Prime Axiom, and then we actually get on with my turn. Magnus puts Snipe on the Prime Axiom, which is almost like there's 74 points of support just to make the Prime Axiom amazing.
Yeah, but it's worth it. He's a good jack with all those buffs.
Yeah, with Snipe, his Acellus Breakers are range 17, and his Tow Cables are range 15. So I did feat. I put up Death Ward on 1 Toro, Iron Aggression on another, and then charged. So my Prime Axiom runs up.
Is on fire and corroded, getting those early damage points in.
The unit just follow him. I do have to proxy Widget with that Spell Slave down there because like we just can't find her anywhere near here. And then Nemo does his place ability, and then charges forward just to get stuck in behind the objective, and he does put up Watcher, because Watcher with a Prime Axiom is also really cute. If you're base to base, any 1-inch melee heavy into it takes a fully boosted POW 21.
Yeah, it hurts.
And then like you get some weird jank where like if something gets in on Nemo and the PA's away, you can Watcher a tow cable to drag them out of melee with Nemo. And there's my feat move, and I ask the threat on the Swordsman dudes up there, which Brian points out is 11, so I stay just outside of it. I did not ask about the threat ranges of anything else nearby, so we'll see how that goes. And then basically, that's pretty much my turn and my 13 models.
So Kryssa does a lot of interesting things to buff her army. With the Swordsmen and the Legionnaires, plus when we add on the Blight Archon, I can kind of pump up defense and armor to points where it's really difficult to deal with a lot of her things, or at least you have to try to deal with them. You know, with shooting the Blightedness Swordsmen go up to defense 18 with Cloak of Ash on them, because 14 base going up to 16 and then 18 with concealment. Well, the blade shield was where that second bump came in. So Ethan had mentioned he didn't ask about other threat ranges, and it wasn't that I decided to not offer that information. I just didn't think about it. So I had said, oh yeah, Energizer's on her card, and we talked about it before the game too. I was like, yep, she has Energizer now, so everything, all the beasts are speed 6 and Energizer the thing. We said that like I think 4 times or something.
We talked about it pregame, and then like I just forgot.
Yep. So I had asked him if he wanted to move the Toros back. We decided to stick with what was going on here. Kryssa got Cloak of Ash on the Blightedness Swordsman and ignited Zuriel. The Azrael comes up and just kind of tries to stay out of a lot of threat ranges from things because I don't want to lose him early. He's a really good piece for this list. And make sure that Kryssa has some cool buffs. He's just nasty. So I believe I decide to throw some spears at the Toro. The first one misses, only needing a 5, so I really should have boosted it. The second one I boost to make sure I don't miss. And I do quite a bit of damage to him. I think I do quite a bit of damage. It looks like I actually only did 1 column. So
yeah, and that's the Death Warded one, so he's armor 22.
Yep, so a decent amount of damage for someone who's at armor 22. So next up, I believe we're running down to the Blightedness Swordsman. Now, I know that Prime Axiom and Nemo are going to be a pain in the butt for these guys because you took the Eyeless Sight objective, I took the Puppet Master objective, and Eyeless Sight is going to let you ignore the concealment that Cloak of Ash gives me, but this way I force you having to put it on the Prime Axiom. So I know that I'm going to lose a lot of Swordsmen here, but it's still not bad dice for them. I mean, like, you need aiming 7s, I think.
I aim to rat 8.
Okay. And they're, so aiming 8s.
Yep.
So pretty decent for me. So they're going to sit here and hope to deal with hope to kind of gum up the Prime Axiom and make him have to aim, because if he moves, the chances of hitting these guys is not real likely.
Yep.
Next up, I decide to activate Zuriel, and he charges the Death Warded Toro. I position him in a way where the Toro that is taking the place of a Nomad, or the other way around, is not going to be able to get a counter charge. I tried to line up the base perfect so that he couldn't see me out from the other Toro, but the third Toro does get a charge. This is the Iron Aggression one, and my hope here is to kind of bait this guy out a little bit to get some of those Legionnaires on him, and it ends up working out all right. We've got the Toro coming in on Zuriel. I'm still Death 13 and then Armor 19 with Unyielding as the theme benefit. So damage is done to Zuriel, but not enough to take out a system.
Yep, and I roll to the 4.
And this is really unfortunate. So this first turn took a really long time, and since I was really invested in trying to figure out what to do with this turn, I didn't notice that the battery on the camera died. I know I keep saying that I'll pay attention to it, but it just didn't happen. So I'm going to kind of walk through the top to bottom as what had happened here. So Zuriel took out the Death Warded Toro and had enough fury left to buy 1 attack into that metal painted Toro up there, and that did a decent amount of damage to him. I think it trucked him for 11 damage or something like that. It was really nasty.
He couldn't boost damage, and it was dice minus 2.
So it was still quite a bit. It might have been like 9 or something. He just rolled nasty on that attack.
I think he rolled boxcars. It was bad.
So the Blightedness Legionnaires, they weren't able to get the hot swap of Ignite because, of course, this is turn 1, so I couldn't move that over. At POW 10, they're really not doing a whole lot. I think I did maybe another 10 damage to it with like 5 or 6 charges. But then the money shot came from the Blightedness Warlord, and Ethan had mixed it, had kind of mixed it in, and it blended in with the Legionnaires. And of course, since they're not painted or anything, it's not like you could tell the difference anyhow. But the Blightedness Warlord got in and did 14 damage.
Yep, and you precision strike to take out my sword.
Yep, and that means that Zuriel is going to have to take the activation of the fully functional Toro, so that one can't go off and do whatever it wants to. So there's only 3 boxes left on that Toro that's metallic looking. And then for the rest of the list, the Blight Archon had put, I believe, Draconic Blessing on Kryssa, so that I could keep her a little bit more safe, because I don't really need the armor buff on anything right now. I probably could have used it on the Blight Archon if I wanted to, but I'm fine with it. The Raek walks up and kind of gets into position to do some funky stuff, and then my Nyss Raptors, they come up through the bottom of the screen, which you probably couldn't see them when I deployed them because of the position of the camera. And worth noting, Annyssa also kind of got in on that charge with the Toro and did a decent amount of boxes. So that's where a lot of the damage came from, was between the Warlord, the one hit from Zuriel and Annyssa, and then just a couple chip points from those Legionnaires. So the battery dying issue doesn't happen again this game, so we can continue. But at least you were saved the 25-minute turn that this was. I used a lot of time on turn 1, so I'm already in a weird spot, but Ethan's essentially down 2 Toros, and I feel good about that.
So yeah, going into my turn, I wasn't expecting to lose as much damage on the Toros. Fire check did not go out in that first Toro because the Zuriel set him on fire. The Prime Axiom lost both of his effects. I did get the counter charge onto Annyssa, but I missed because I needed a 9. But yeah, the Warlord was a rough thing, because he pretty much sealed that Toro's death. That's on me. I asked the threat ranges of that unit, and you're like, oh, they're POW 10s. I'm like, that's fine. That's why he countercharged up to get the full distance to get the 3.
It wasn't me trying to be skeezy. I just really wasn't paying attention to. I was just answering the questions that were put in front of me.
Yeah, I didn't ask the right questions, and I don't blame him for that. I was in the zone on what to do on my other stuff. I do ambush Anastasia off screen, where she can get into that Warlord in the butt, because the Warlord on that side, I don't want him doing that to the Prime Axiom.
Yeah, because he'd actually do more damage.
Yep, because you would probably be feeding, and then it would suck. Eyeless Sight goes on the Prime Axiom, and then I upkeep Snipe, and then I upkeep Iron Aggression for free because of Resourceful, because Sylys lets me upkeep another spell for free, so I can upkeep either Snipe or any of the other buffs I need on the Prime Axiom. So I'm trying to plan out what to do up there. So I end up having the Iron Aggression guy go first, or this is also a long-term turn for me.
Yeah, it's we just played this game 2 hours ago, and it's just the turns are so long that it was really hard to remember all this stuff.
Yep, because I need to... Basically, the list revolves around a Prime Axiom, just shooting a whole bunch, but the Toros are usually the backup.
Yeah, they're also meant to gum things up to being high armor, but since you've lost 2 of them essentially, you don't have that luxury, so your turns have to be very pointed in how you activate.
Yep, so I end up doing my allocation. Magnus allocates 2 to the Toro. Nemo allocates nothing. And then it's worth mentioning, I forgot to say, Nemo summoned a Steelhead Arcanist last turn, and then he walks over to also empower the Prime Axiom. So now I have 2 empower bots from the unit on the Prime Axiom, and the third one can give Signs Importance to Nemo. That way I have just enough. The counter charge bot is just walking up and digging in. It's worth noting we had to proxy that with the Heal Boy because we couldn't find the explodey ones.
I know where they're in a box in an unassembled, so I just had to do what I had to do.
Yep. And the Prime Axiom this turn summoned another explodey one who charges his 9 to get his half-inch melee on that Swordsman.
Yep. And sitting at defense 14 in combat, though, because Blade Shield doesn't work in combat, and Cloak of Ash doesn't work against non-living targets.
And I roll a 10, so I explode on him with an AoE 4.
Yep, and that's really unfortunate because this is just free 4 dudes down.
Yep. I mean, it's POW 7 blast damage, so I need 7s, and then I proceed to murder everyone.
Yeah, we're kind of jumping the gun, but they all get... And I had 3 of them that were inside Kryssa's tough bubble and not a single one passed. So all 4 of them go down. Really unhappy with that one just because I was kind of hoping those guys would exist a little bit longer, but the one Reflex Servitor just kind of got me.
Yeah. This list is really good at mulch and infantry, and then Harlow aims and uses his ghost shot ability, so he aims to rat 9, and you're def 18.
Yep. So still needing 9s, but you seem to be clipping them all right.
Yeah, basically I get to roll.
Yep, so one of them tuffed, and then you shot it again to get rid of it, I think. At least at one point, one of these guys toughs.
Yep, so I'm able to quick work back behind the woods.
Yep.
And then I realize, I just quick, because I wanted to try and keep him safe from Zuriel. And then, or Azrael.
You mean from Azrael.
I'm going to keep saying the wrong names.
Azrael's the snake and Zuriel's the ninja.
And then there I realized, man, he's really in the way of Magnus walking up and cycling Iron Aggression to that fully loaded jack.
And then we pull out the stocking stuffers for the best Muson Con offer ever, where they just gave us free steppers, because I don't think I would have bought those, but after getting them for free, like, I use them a lot.
Yeah. And then I eventually realized Spiritual Conduit is a thing on Sylys, so I don't need to get within 6, I just need 8. So I have the Iron Aggression Toro go first, and he just takes his sword into the Warlord. Thanks to Iron Aggression, he still gets 2 dice to hit, so he cranks it at dice plus like 5.
Yeah, like I was hoping the Warlord's defense would save him here, but it doesn't end up working out for him, so that's my first decap solo gone. But he did his job. I think like that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, decap solos are fire and forget. Like if you get 1 charge off, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Then you just punch the dude in front of him just to try and clear more dudes. So now Magnus is just walking over 5 around to get within 8, which is easy peasy. Cycles Iron Aggression to the fully loaded one. And then I'm trying to figure out where he wants to go because I really wanted to contest the zone. So we tried to figure out here. I hit the rock.
Yeah, we're bashing the rock around a bunch, but we're basically pulling out like proxies, or Ethan tried to pull out another Toro. I was like, I got a stack of proxy bases over here. Let's just do this.
So even before hitting the building, there was enough of a gap where I could easily walk around and tow.
Yep.
So the Toro does take a free strike from one of the Nyss.
Yeah, Legionnaires, yep.
So then, but it's whatever. It's off 10.
Yeah, there's very, very little chance of me doing any real substantial work here.
Or it's off 8 because I proc battle driven, but
and I don't do any. You haven't proc battle driven yet. It was just the Warlord that died.
No, I punched one guy with a fist.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So then I walk up and then I proceed to just
that first one cranked hard, and then the second one got him rough too. Like everything that Zuriel's got a lot of protection. 13-19 is not a sneezy stat by any means.
But he did eat a counter charge last turn.
He did, yep. And I fully accepted that. So it did take everything that Nomad had, I think.
No, it
had a couple focus left over.
Yeah, it took a 1 bot attack.
Yep.
And then I bind attack into Annyssa. I hit, and they roll Snake Eyes, so she actually lives.
Yep, which is okay. I'm fine with that right now.
And
like,
then
she prayed Harlow,
attack.
And that's what she was supposed to do. But that last attack does rock her off the table.
Yep. I was like, that's okay for the Toro, but I'm like, I know I'm giving it away, but I figured I'd at least force you to kill it.
Yeah, you took 2 really big pieces from me, and that is enough. I still think I'm up on the piece trade, though, for taking 2 Toros, which will probably turn into 3. But I think that it still hurts to lose Zuriel nonetheless, because I've lost a lot of my Nyss swordsmen, and they're probably going to be dying on the way in, so I don't have a lot of damage output there to deal with the Axiom. And Zuriel's the only one left, Azrael.
And then there I'm pre-measuring, because I'm base to base with the objective in the Prime Axiom, but just to see if I run over there. But if I do, I'm in Azrael's threat. And then
Zuriel's dead now. We don't have to say his name anymore.
Yeah. And I think Azrael with Feet and Ignite can easily 1-round Nemo. So I end up going with the Prime Axiom first.
It goes up to POW 22, I think.
Yep. Prime Axiom aims, boosts a shot into that first Raptor, hits, and then boosts damage.
Yep, and it doesn't take much to take a Raptor off the table once you connect with them. They're only arm 15.
Yeah, there's a Raptor off the table you can see. And then I'm just boosting shots all along. And then with 5 Acela Spikers, like, yeah, I need 6s to hit your Raptors, but it's like I can just...
You're using the shot. You don't have anything else better to shoot at, so you
Or
might
actually,
as well.
I put them all like into the Warlord, because I needed 9s or 8s, and I was like, oh, whatever, I'll hit one eventually, and then I do, and I crank it, and then widget goes, ancillary attacks, I shoot something, and then I think I miss.
I think it's worth noting that you did ambush Anastasia di Bray here, but forgot to activate her, and we didn't notice till late.
Yep.
So I've kind of got my work cut out for me on my turn now. It's turn 2 and we're already in the thick of it, so that's always fun, but it's also a little rough for me since I'm so low on resources.
Yeah, we're both down to like 30 minutes each.
Yeah, time is a big resource that we've been sinking a lot into also. Like, we're both just... I have a ton of attacks to take. Ethan has a ton of stuff to do before he gets his big work stuff to go. So I get Vengeance out of these, and I'm hoping that maybe I will be able to get... enough damage onto that silver Toro to just take it out. It's got 3 boxes left. Its shield is up. I decided to leave the sword in hopes that it wouldn't kill something that it hit, but in hindsight, maybe taking out that shield would have been better. But the Nyss are sitting, or the Legionnaires are swinging at POW 12 right now, and Farilor's in combat with him. So I decide to go with him first and see if I get lucky. I do hit, and I think he's dice off 10 still. Or no, dice off 8 still, and he doesn't do any damage at all. It's not good. I think I do 1 damage with one of the Legionnaires, so I leave it on 2 boxes, but it's not quite enough to pull him out of there. So
I don't think you ended up doing any damage with this. He was still on 3.
I can't remember exactly, but regardless, it's still going to take some output from my army in other places to make this Toro go away. And the reason why I want to clear this off is because... I want those Legionnaires in the middle of the table. They've already kind of gotten jammed up. So I decided to do some crazy stuff. And Azrael got the Puppet Master roll this turn. And now Kryssa has walked up, and then she energizers to get into combat with the Toro that's by this rock. And Azrael comes up with her. I decide to feat. And I figure Kryssa should be able to do a lot of work to the Toro, especially if the shield goes down. So we start just rolling a bunch of damage, and she does pretty well, especially with having sustained attack now, just base instead of crit. I'm boosting all my damage rolls at dice off 5, and she ends up doing enough to pull that Toro off. I don't
dice
have...
off 4.
Dice off 4, sorry. So... Yeah, because she's 13 up to 16.
And you took out the shield on the second swing.
Yeah, it was really bad for the Toro. So Kryssa went over and just destroyed this thing. I'm sitting on no camp, but I still have a Draconic Blessing on me. At least I think I do. It might be that this is the turn that I put it on. I can't remember. No, I put it on last turn.
Yeah, I don't think you can see the token.
Yeah, there it is. It's right behind her. So now I need to try and make sure that Azrael gets work done. And with this Toro only having 3 boxes, I figure I can just boost the shot into him to hit. And as soon as he connects, there's no reason to roll dice because I have so much of it. Since his spears are thrown, he gets the strength buff from this. So it's like POW 20.
It was dice plus 1. Or, yeah, it was dice plus 2, actually, so, like, it just auto-killed.
Yeah, it just rocks him. I'm not close enough to get any other shots on anything. I would have liked to have pulled the Servitor out for no investment. And now my next goal is to try and contest Ethan's zone because I feel like I've got a good play for some big scenario here. And I decide to run the Nyss or get a press forward order. The first one charges the Prime Axiom, and I forgot about Watcher like I typically do, and Ethan goes in for the hit, connects, and just blows it up. But now since Watcher is procced, I can run the other Raptor into the zone, and that'll contest and be a little bit more of a pain in the butt for Ethan to deal with. Next up, I charge one Nyss off into Anastasia because I don't want her messing with my flag at all. I don't want her like controlling it later. So at Mat 7, it's not likely that I hit, but I do end up missing. So Anastasia lives to fight another day. But I have my Abbot chilling out in the trench and the champion ready to charge anything that comes onto the flag. So I'm not feeling too bad there. And then a couple of the other Nyss swordsmen just kind of spread out a little bit and try to just take up some space. I think now I'm trying to figure out if the Raek can run into Ethan's zone, because then if I just give him another thing, it means that he will have to try and deal with that too, because it'll be another big thing contesting his zone. And as long as he's spending resources clearing the zone, he's not spending resources killing my other models that actually do stuff. Unfortunately, the positioning of my Nyss swordsman makes it so I cannot get into the zone with the Raek. So I have to figure out what to do with him otherwise. I think I go through like a decision logic of like all these different things I could do with him, but I decide to just move on and say I'm not going to deal with the Raek right now, and I go ahead and charge the Legionnaires. So one of them gets into the Reflex Servitor because I don't want a countercharged bomb going off, and one gets into Magnus. There might have been two here, but I think I was just running to jam. And then I did forget to do Hold the Line as their mini feat to give them extra defense, and I don't end up rolling that back to make it happen. There are some runs here that I probably could have done a little bit better to get them into the zone, so it'd be more stuff that Ethan would have to clear, but I was really just kind of feeling the time burn a little bit. So I think the first attack goes on to Magnus.
No, the Servitor.
Oh, the Servitor. So we hit and it just goes. The next one goes on to Magnus, and I think I miss.
No, you hit.
Oh, I connect. And it does a pretty decent amount of damage to him. After focus, I think it does 5 boxes. So 5 damage on Magnus is nice, putting the fear of Everblight into him. Next up, I decide to use my Blight Archon to kind of sit in the middle and take up this zone, and I'm worried about the Prime Axiom pulls, so the Raek ends up running to block the pull lane, so Ethan has a lot to untangle before he can get to that Blight Archon.
Just noting when Brian moved Kryssa up to punch, he moved her out of the zone.
Yep, and I think there was a way I probably could have kept her in there, but I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I was not expecting Magnus to be engaged this turn by, I want to say, 5 to 6
Legionnaires. Yeah. He's jammed up pretty hard with these. Now, if I had Hold the Line up, it'd be a little bit more difficult to get rid of them, but unfortunately, their mini feat was something that I decided not to do.
It's already going to be difficult. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with Magnus right now.
Yeah, you're kind of running out of attacks on the top side of that zone.
Yeah, losing all 3 Toros by turn 2.
Yeah, we just bulldozed right through that jam.
Yep. Like, I should have just been smarter and stayed out of threat bottom of 1, and then I have the Toros alive and then buried on my turn 2. But I gave up a lot of free damage bottom of 1. So I'm trying to plan out my turn. This is going to be another long turn because I want to try and get on the Blight Archon. I want to try and clear off Magnus somehow because I don't want to eat that many free strikes. Harlow is over there, so maybe he can shoot and kill those guys, but he's engaged.
So no aiming, but these guys are only defense 14, so...
But I can take gunfighter attacks then as long as they're engaging me, so it's probably better. Mm-hmm. That way I don't have to shoot in the melee.
Yeah, that's unfortunate if you'd have to do that.
And then just planning through... I still upkeep Watcher with Nemo and upkeep Snipe, because Snipe for free thanks to Sylys. I allocate nothing again. And then... Man, even sped up, this is taking a long time.
Yeah, well, the thing is you've just got so many things in front of you, and you're really trying to engineer. I think your big goal right now is how can I get the Blight Archon, because you want that thing gone before it starts tearing up the lines with you, because I might not have a feat anymore, but the Blight Archon's still swinging pretty respectively with Ignite, and even if the Raek dies, I can still just cut and just send it in as a missile and just destroy things. So I think there's just a lot of planning in order for you to figure out how to deal with this Blight Archon, how to deal with Magnus being engaged by a bunch of Reach, POW 10, POW 12 guys most of the time. And I think now we're trying to figure out if you can get a servitor into a spot where you can stay out of melee, not take free strikes from a Raek or a Legionnaire, and not get engaged with the Blight Archon because you want to get Flare out there. I think you made an Accretion servitor.
Yep. Maybe an Explodey Boy would have been better, but I was too close to Harlow to do anything over there. So I do walk up. I unsurprisingly miss, but an AoE 3 can't drift off a large base if you're just outside 1 inch. I mean, I'm within 2, but like...
it would scatter an inch off, but there's no way it's not going to make it.
And it conveniently catches the Nyss.
Which is one you want to also have Flare on.
Yep. So then I do my Puppet Master on the Prime Axiom, and I teleport Eilish away. There, I'm measuring just to see how many people are waiting to kill Magnus, because that charge actually left him on 12 boxes-ish. So, like, I'm pretty scared with Zuriel being up there. I have no way to knock him down with this list to get around Feign Death, and that's a lot of battle-driven charges into me. So, like, it's a scary time.
And so you're just trying to get your support to go to make sure you don't forget anything because one slip right now would really cost you a lot of momentum if you didn't activate the right piece of support at the right time.
Yep. And this is my first time like playing this in person, and let me say War Table with like long threat ranges, like 17-inch Excel spikers and like pre-measuring where he's got to go is a lot easier. Because here I'm measuring like, okay, Nemo's in charge threat of Zuriel, which
Azrael.
is not Azrael, same thing. But I realize if I do my 3-inch place ability backwards, I'm out of threat. Because I've done the Signs Importance shot from the mechanic unit. So like my goal for him is to either kill the Raek or shoot it out of the way so I can drag in the Blight Archon. Sylys walks up just to try and maybe take a Hail Mary punch into a swordsman in the butt. And I think I miss, because that's one less dude I have to try and clear off.
Sometimes Sylys gets to live the dream, but it was not today.
Nope. So now Harlow's going. With Gunfighter, he's going to try and shoot as many of these people as he can. And he needs...
I think
7s?
like 5s, right? Because I'm defense.
5s. Because
12.
D-line doesn't work against Gunfighter.
Yep.
And I'm POW 12, so I need a 5 to kill. Because your armor 16, right?
Yeah, well, armor 15, then up to 17 with battle-driven proc.
Yep, so I need a 6 to kill.
And unfortunately, there's only one of these Legionnaires that's in the tough bubble for Kryssa, so I'm not able to really get a lot out of them there.
Yep. And then the last one, I hit, and then I fail to break armor.
Yep, so that was good for me. It just means that that's a standing up Legionnaire that's engaging Magnus, so it's another free strike that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Harlow did Swift Hunter up to block line of sight for one of them, so now I'm only eating 2 free strikes. So I think once we do Magnus's activation, I'll think about it more. So here's Nemo doing the 3-inch teleport ability.
Yeah, he wants to stay way away from Azrael.
Yep. So he's able to place himself and then aim. So I'm in aim range, so even if I shoot the Raek max distance, I'm still in time for the next shot. I boost the hit, 4 dice, drop the lowest. I don't crit, but I boost damage, and I think I pretty much half-held them.
Yeah, you did exactly 10 boxes. It was a really unfortunate thing to have happen, but Nemo's super accurate with that buff.
Yep. And then the second shot pushes, and then I boost damage, and that just cranks it.
Yep, so the Raek took Nemo's activation at least, but I was kind of hoping it would take one more thing, but that Signs Importance ability that the mechanics gives Nemo really makes it so he can punch way above his weight class, which I guess it's not really above because he probably weighs a ton.
Yep. I mean, he's floaty, so maybe he's pretty weightless.
He could be.
Like, he's probably hollow
he has
inside.
to weigh something. Yeah, he's hollow inside, and that's why.
So the Prime Axiom just turns to directly face the Blight Archon, and then I'm just starting Excel Spiker shots, and I hit the front guy. I did Dark Shroud with Ragman, so it's a Death Field, so it's a POW 13 shot, which ends up just killing. And then I boost a tow cable, and then this is like...
Yeah, we had to adjust. We have some rules.
Yeah, we were thinking, I was like, wait, the flag is a model, and drag says if you contact a model, it stops. So I end up having to actually move over, and we looked it up after the game, but per Infernal rulings, you can drag through incorporeal models. So, like, wouldn't have mattered.
Which I still think is kind of a bummer, because, like, you're contacting the flag.
But Incorporeal, like, says you can move through it.
Incorporeal says you can run through it. It doesn't say you don't contact It's like they made up the ruling and didn't change the rules to just say, this is the rule I've made, and that's the way it's going to be.
It's rules as intended, not rules as written.
I know, yeah.
Brian.
It should have been changed to say so.
And there I'm just taking a bunch of attacks. So, cutely, I've cleared that flag for Anastasia to run, because she has parry, so she just runs to score it.
Yep, so my one Nyss swordsman just is kind of sitting there twirling their sword in the wind.
Yep, so all I have left is Magnus, and I'm trying to figure out what to do, because, like, if I walk straight backwards, I'm out of charge threat of Azrael, but I'm still scared of all those dudes punching, and then, like, I'm going through my options, and what I should have done was just run away, and take two free strikes, but there's nowhere really for me to run, because basically that zone is the kill box, and there's nowhere I could have ran to got away. So I do Arcantric bolts into the guys in front of me, and I end up knocking down one, missing the other, and then I camp two, and I take a free strike to walk away, because I was like, I need the 2 focus. I couldn't risk doing a third one.
Yep. So my free strikes didn't do much. I think I did a couple damage, but not much.
You did actually okay. I think you did a few damage points.
Yeah, Magnus is just not in a good spot in general. So.
Yeah, I should have just ran, but like I don't know where I could have ran.
So now I've got Magnus in charge range of all the Legionnaires. Fire goes out on the one Legionnaire that was knocked down, which isn't a big deal because I can't bring him back up anyways. I have to cut Kryssa a bunch in order to fill her Fury back up. I also had to do that in the previous turn as well. I think she's taken 4 damage from the cut so far. So I have some options in terms of getting rid of the points. I think Ethan and I are sitting at 2-2 right now. And the first thing I want to do is make sure that the scenario doesn't get away from me and try and deal with Anastasia. I charge in the Abbot, who does have a sword even though it looks like he uses it as a cane, and I miss Anastasia with that. So that's unfortunate, but at least I'm contesting the flag so I don't have to deal with it anymore. So next up I need to figure out how am I going to unpack into Magnus, and Sylys and Harlow are kind of in a place where they're kind of stopping my Legionnaires from getting anywhere. I have that like pocket spell Martyr that I think I'm going to run to the outside, and we take a little while to position the sprays here, but Howling Flames being a 10-inch spray is massive for this, so it's a nice unjamming piece of tech that I can use to just get rid of them because they're in that straight line. This is when we forget that Vengeance was procced, so we go ahead and roll it back just to take care of this. Now this kind of is looking counterintuitive because I was talking about Howling Flames being the way it is now. But they're all like, all my Legionnaires are in that line getting ready to be sprayed. But I move them in a way to where once the Howling Flame goes off, if I need to get rid of Harlow, it's just that I need to walk Kryssa up and do it from her because Sylys is dead now. So that's kind of what I was hoping for with all the Vengeance attacks. Harlow, I just did. I think I connected with him, but left him on one stupid box.
Yep.
So that was unfortunate that I couldn't just clear them all out with the Vengeance attacks, but I still feel like I've got a pretty reliable assassination on Magnus over here because I'm kind of struggling with myself because if Zuriel goes up, or Azrael, now you got me doing it too. If Azrael goes up and gets a crit into Magnus for the crit smite, there's a chance that I could push him out of charge range. So I'm like, where am I going to go? And I think I was engaging Harlow and just needed to back up a little bit. And then I was engaging the Servitor, so I decided I'm just going to move him here. I've got a line between these guys. And I go ahead and boost the shot into Magnus. I hit and do not crit. And I boost damage, and I leave him on like 2 boxes.
On 5.
On 5. So I throw the next one. This one does crit, and then the damage just takes Magnus off the table. So I didn't even need the Legionnaires to get there, but the sole fact that those Toros went down the way that they did meant that the Legionnaires kind of cleared, the way was cleared for the Legionnaires, and the Prime Axiom had to pay attention to the bottom zone and couldn't really deal with any of the things that were coming at the top. Like, you can't split your focus when you've kind of got two different things that you've got to pay attention to. So I think the game turned out pretty well for me. I was really up against the ropes and in what I would consider maybe an unfavored matchup for me, but I was able to get enough pressure on Magnus and maybe be like unintentionally skeezy with the threat ranges on the Toros and pull those off early.
Yeah, losing the Toros, I think winning for me going first is huge because I'm just so far up the board. I set the line of engagement to your deployment zone almost.
When we spun up this scenario, and then I knew what I was going to play when I first sat down with this. I'm like, I'm going to play Kryssa. I don't really care what you bring. I was like, there's 3 flags in the middle, an objective, and a square zone in the back. Like, there's a real chance that I just get locked out of scenario here.
Yeah, because this is a really good scenario for this list because a lot of my solos are support, but I'm pooping one out every turn with the Prime Axiom. So, like, end game, like, you can't lock me out of the flags, whereas you're down to Kryssa as your solo.
Kryssa's the only solo, plus the Spell Martyr that I didn't have to use, but he came off the flag anyways.
So, like, I'm just going to keep pooping out servitors every turn. But the forest in the middle means the Prime Axiom had to focus on one side. Because, like I said, the whole list is built around the Prime Axiom. Like, snipe on him is really good when you're Rat 6. And then, like, you poop out a Flare bot. He goes up to Rat 8 when you flare, Rat 10 if he aims. And usually when he runs turn 1, like, on this scenario, I'm in my zone, I'm aiming, I'm threatening to your zone. So it's like, I'm fine aiming or just shooting. Like, I could have walked up, but I figured the aim shots was better into all the chaff on the bottom.
Yep. And Kryssa really, she needs to deliver her army based off of this, like, this specific list, which I'm not saying this list is the primo way to run Kryssa. It just takes advantage of a lot of the CID options, and I feel like it's still pretty strong in and of itself. But she's relying on her stats to deliver the army, or the army's stats to deliver them, and doesn't have any like speed buffs outside of Energizer to get things there. So when Ethan has the tools to tear apart my list, I'm really on the back foot right away, and I really needed something like this scenario to happen with the Toro business to make sure I get my foot back in this game.
Yeah, because if the Toros aren't in threat bottom of 1, like,
then the Legionnaires have to be the jam pieces, and then Zuriel and Azrael would have to come around and take Toros off that way. And I don't know if they're able to do it because you're going to be taking off quite a few Legionnaires on the way in.
Yeah, because you have to basically jam up me.
Yep.
And then, like, I'm fine just holding over there by the flag. Usually I have, like, a Toro near the Prime Axiom. That way I can drag something in and the Toro finishes off. But I figured this way I could lean super heavy on the top with 3 Toros, and then the Prime Axiom can hold its own on the bottom because, like, your threat ranges are pretty static, except for when you have Energizer.
Yeah. Vengeance and Energizer.
Yeah. But, like, so I'm fine with having the Prime Axiom hold down one side on its own, and then, because, like, it's just so versatile with Magnus. Like, I put Snipe on it because, like, its guns are really good and it's got a long-range base. So, but, like, when it gets stuck in the thick of things, I can swap Iron Aggression to it. So now, even though Nemo's map 5, like, all I need is the first hit to hit, and then he has sustained attack on his fists. Or if I need extra armor, I can Death Ward him to armor 22, and I pick the column. Like, or if I need more infantry clearing, Nemo puts his E-Leap spell and more armor cracks. Now he's +2 strength. So now he's swinging at POW 25 with Dark Shroud from Ragman. And then he's E-Leaping on top of it. So, like, it's just pretty versatile. Like,
whatever you need to fix a situation, Magnus can make the Prime Axiom prime for that deal.
Yeah, which is why, like, I built a bunch of lists trying to figure out what Merc caster unlocks the Prime Axiom, and I think Magnus 1 just does so much, and then the rest of his list with his feet can just try and gum up, because, like, the whole point of playing in Irregulars for the reroll the plus first and Anastasia is, of course, the go first. That way I can feat top of one and claim as much board space as I need. It's just, this is a good lesson of know what your opponent's threat ranges are bottom of one, so you don't lose your Toros bottom one. Because, like, this is probably, like, the third or fourth game in my history of Warmachine where I've lost a heavy to infantry charging from your deployment zone.
Yeah.
I did that once with Arcadius when I enlivened a Roadhog that hyper aggressive and enlivened to engage Iris and then got charged by a whole unit of Sentinels. That was really cute. Or it was a Warhog. I was like, you know what? I'm engaging Iris in your AD. This is funny. And then they're like, I charge you. And I'm like,
yep.
Oh,
it's unfortunate. Yeah. At least you had one thing going for you, in that the Legionnaires, when they're not battle-driven or ignited, they don't hit very hard. I know, like, their performance looks like it wasn't that great, but I wasn't able to get the buffs on them when I needed them to get there. I really didn't plan out when I first started going that the Legionnaires would be getting charges off on Toros, and even at dice off 8 on charges, it's still probably better that Zuriel got ignite. But overall, I think that the Legionnaires really need strength buffs in order to do things, and this list didn't showcase that, but it did show that they can exist for a while when nothing's threatening them, which is kind of stupid to say, but their stats are what keep them around. But just the way that turn 1 unpacked, it just worked out well for them.
Yeah, because by the time Zuriel went up, Kryssa had already gone, so I knew you couldn't feat. That's why I was like, oh, I'll countercharge into your threats. My hope was if my Toro rolls us like an odd column on Zuriel, if I cripple any of his aspects, he doesn't kill my Toro. Like, if I take out his mind, that's probably the worst one, but there's still a chance you miss on one dice because he's mat 7.
Mat 7, yeah.
So he has a 50-50 chance of missing. And, like, his grid, because he's basically, how many boxes does he have?
26, I thought, maybe.
Yeah, because he feels like he's like right. A mini light.
He's a big light.
But, so I was like, if I roll to an odd column at dice -1 that averages about 10, I'm just trying to pull up his grid. We can just fast forward through this. Oh, I've already caught it. So, like, there's a decent chance I take out his spirit or his body. The mind is a little bit rougher because it has 10 boxes, but the other ones have less. Or no, the body has 10. It's the spirit that's the one where if I roll to the 5, like, there's a good chance I take that out, and now I've still got 3 Toros up there.
Yep, and I felt like my best bet for getting rid of the Toro was definitely getting him in there to do the work. So I'm glad that it worked out the way it did, because it made it so I didn't have to play up against the ropes on that side of the table so much. But that if things go differently down there, I think that it's really hard for me to fight back based on how everything was looking.
Yeah, if I had, like I knew you had Warlords in your list, I just, like, when it's hard to see, like, once the game gets going, you realize what's happening, but, like, you hadn't moved him yet.
Yeah, he was
so,
just
like,
hanging
he
out
was
with
still in your
Legionnaires.
deployment zone, so I was like, oh, I wasn't even paying attention to what was in your deployment zone. I asked the threat ranges on the Legionnaires, and I was like, whatever,
Yeah.
POW 10's into me.
Man, Legionnaires with her are so good. Like, even if you just ignite them and have feet up, like, they're swinging at POW 17 if you trigger battle driven, because they get +2 for ignite, +3 from feet, and then +2 for battle driven. So Legionnaires they have the potential to get really good, but you could say the same thing about the Swordsmen, and they just stay alive on their own anyways. So they're interesting. I don't think they're the greatest thing to come out of CID, but at least they're takeable.
Yeah, they're playable. And I don't know, the Legion CID, there was so much stuff in it that, like, and I think a lot of the focus wasn't on those nitty-gritty units. Like, the majority of people's playtesting was Blight Archons, because, like, that's what they cared about. And then maybe some Bethane 2.
Yeah, and for me, I've talked about the Legion CID a little bit, but Bethane 2 was probably the least exciting thing to come out of that CID, which is really unfortunate because she was supposed to be like a really big showcase for it. And honestly, she just doesn't really inspire me at all to like go out and pick her up and play her right away.
Like, the model looks gorgeous, and like maybe once we see her finalize rules and actually see her on the table, but like I didn't think she was like as oppressive as people said. Like, PP said her feat was OP after week 1, and like I thought it was too when I misread the feat and thought it just gave sanguine bond to everything. But it was like you had the transfer all the damage or none, so it's like Man, you're just killing your heavies.
Exactly. You only transfer to heavies or chosen at that point, and it's just she doesn't feel super dynamic to me. And I'm sure somebody else who's a better Legion player could tell me I'm wrong or something, but like Bethane 2 or Bethane 1 and Kryssa came out of the Legion CID, at least for week 3's iteration, way better than Bethane 2. Like, I think
hands down.
Kryssa and Bethane 1 definitely get into the conversation of being like in the top 5 casters of Legion now, and Bethane 2 I wouldn't even put in the top 10.
I mean, I think she's top 10 material. Like, there's got to be worse
you got
casters.
like Animag, Callus 1, Callus 2. I think Lilith 3 is definitely in the top 10.
Hands down, yeah.
Abby 2, Abby 1. Like, I could keep going, and there's still going to be casters that I'd rather play with over Bethane 2.
Yeah, the feat, like, her feat literally just, in my mind, is like she feats on herself, feats on, because it's up to 8 things now.
Yeah, I think it's 8 now.
7 other things, she charges forward, and she's like, you can't kill me. Like, she gets a turn of just doing work and then almost being unkillable with transfers and that. Or
she feats and says, here's how you kill my Blightbringer.
Yeah, like she just gets the free transfer to a full health Blightbringer.
And then at that point, you're probably jammed up with all the stuff they put into you, and now you got to figure out how to untie it with no Blightbringer.
And then, like, you feed on Blight Archons, so then, like, they get free transfers to other stuff, but it's still, like, you're still shunting that full damage off to something else, and, like, the only thing that has the boxes are heavies or a whole bunch of chosen, so now you're stuck in Primal Terror. Like, what in the other themes can absorb the feat damage?
Yeah, just like
to keep her heavies and stuff alive.
Just Thrones and Archangels, really. Like, that's... But then when you're doing that, just play Bethane 1.
Yeah, because Beth, like, as people have probably seen the video that you posted, like, I think Beth 1, if she stays as it is, like, hands down better than Bethane 2. Like,
absolutely.
Like, that feat is just amazing with Thrones and, like, her whole kit. Like, she brings an armor debuff. She brings decel. She brings... Well, another armor debuff.
Well, a buff that's Bloodthorn. So, like, it's just... She's just ridiculously good. But I think we could prattle on about Legion CID forever. I'm sure when the finalized version comes out, we'll have more to say about it. And maybe we'll actually try and come up with an actual format for that instead of tacking on an extra 20 minutes at the end of every battle report. But leave a comment below if you feel like you'd want the format to change to kind of just have these discussions in a different... presented in a different way, or let us know what you're thinking about the Legion CID in general, or especially what you're thinking about this Magnus 1 list, because I think for the most part people look at Magnus 1 as a battle box joke, and I feel like this list has some real traction.
Well, I know Meme Malorian, like, he praises Magnus 1, and, like, I liked his list that he built a while ago. It was just like 4 Toros, a Mangler, and a Buccaneer in Irregulars with Idrians. I remember that list. I wanted to run that list really bad, but then, like, the Prime Axiom jank became available, and I was like, this is my jam.
Yeah.
Because, like, the Prime Axiom was in every Convergence pairing I played, sometimes even in both of the lists. So
maybe in pairs.
Oh, I only did that once. But I love that Jack. He's still the most expensive Colossal.
Yeah, 37.
Yep, but he brings in the free servitors every turn, so, like, it's kind of a wash, but, like, I literally have, I did the math on this list, 74 points when you factor in the Raek options of literally Prime Axiom and Friends.
Well, and then you've got the mini feat, too, if you're factoring that in. Because you brought the Arcanist. The Steelhead Arcanist.
Oh, yeah, so that's an extra 4 points.
Yeah, so it's almost 80 points.
Ugh.
Yeah, thanks for tuning into this one. Again, just let us know what you think about things. We enjoy talking about all this stuff afterwards, but want to make sure that we're not detracting from anything. So if you've made it this far, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, how can I make Magnus 1 better?